Welcome back to our channel, you guys. I am Z, and this is my lovely husband,
Charles.
And we want to talk about why we need to get away from everyone and everything, okay? It's been a lot. If you guys have been following us, you know we are in the process of building a home and selling a home. And the building was, some tedious, but I feel like now the selling of our home has been a lot more, what's the words I'm looking for, Charles?
I'm going to say disruptive.
Yeah, just a quick recap on what our lives have been like for the past few weeks. And some of you guys probably are familiar with this if you had to sell and buy or build a home. But we are both working full time, right? Me, I'm a primary care doctor. Charles is an actuary. We have 3 kiddos. And our 3 kiddos are booked and busy, right? We have our little 2-year-old who's about to take a nap in the back. We have our 7-year-old and our 8-year-old. And balancing getting a house ready, throwing away all of our junk that we've accumulated, running out of the house during showings, working, Charles getting the kids to karate, just doing life has been exhausting.
Yeah.
Okay? And so I had the bright idea of thinking about how do we get the spark back for Charles and I. And go ahead.
That sounds like there's something like missing romantically with us.
No,
there's
just
not really.
Life-wise, getting the spark back life-wise, because sometimes you can just feel so heavy. It's kind of like you're walking through mud and just pushing through. And I feel like a lot of days I'm just happy. I'm grateful for my day-to-day, but some days I'm just happy when I make it to my bed, right? And I can put my head on the pillow.
Yeah.
And so I thought about what could we do as a couple, just Charles and I, to get a little bit of a break. Now, with our kiddos and work, there was no possibility that we can take a week and go away. We just don't have that type of help or that time to do so. But then, go ahead, you can say something.
Yeah, I was going to add a little bit of color on that. So we have an au pair who's a live-in child helper, and she's from another country, and traveling can be a little bit questionable with them. So like earlier this year, or actually it's coming up here in a couple of months, my nephew's getting married in France.
Yeah.
And we really wanted to go. We were
taking the kiddos too, right?
We were gonna take the kids, and we were gonna, do a whole family French vacation and all that. We're gonna take our au pair, and then we found out from the agency that because it was the wedding was scheduled for within 6 weeks of when her visa was going to expire, they didn't recommend that we travel anywhere out of the country, because even though they should let her back in the country, supposedly if you travel within 6 weeks, if you leave the country within 6 weeks of the expiration of your visa, sometimes they just decide not to let you back in, and you can't really do anything about it.
Okay.
And so then we were like, oh, do we go to France, like just Z and I, and do 3 kids in France? And we decided that's just not feasible. So anyway,
so the moral of that story is traveling's hard, right? We understand it's a privilege having an au pair, childcare that we pay for, but with our 8-year-old and 7-year-old, more so with a 2-year-old who requires a little bit more attention, it would just be very difficult as far as that family trip. But even that being pushed aside, I wasn't even talking about a family trip. I was just talking about you and I getting away, right? What do we do in regards to that? And going away for a week or even 4 days or so, it's just too much.
We can't do that.
With our family set up and with work.
We don't have any family members where we can drop the kids off.
Correct.
That doesn't happen for us.
Correct. And I got the bright idea, let's go away for one night, leave early morning, and then come back by the next evening. And so then the thought came of, where would we enjoy?
Well, now say how can we manage that? Like, how is that manageable?
Well, going back to our au pair, right? Our live-in childcare, she was agreeable to that because I presented that to her. Hey, we would go away during the work week, while the kids have school and daycare, and just be away for one night. Would you be okay with that?
And she normally puts them to bed on Fridays anyway.
Yeah, that's her date night.
Yeah.
So it's not really disruptive for her day to day if we were to take a trip during the work week and just stay for one night. And so then came the thought, where would we go, right? And Charles has spoke about before, New York, right? And New York is great, but I feel like New York would have been difficult to do within for one night, right?
It's a lot. It's too much.
Yeah, lots of great places, great food, good public transportation, but just difficult. And then a few years ago, I went to Chicago for the first time. I went with some of my friends from medical school, and it was a whirlwind trip, right? We did the Bean, we did the Sears Tower, and I loved it. Right? Just walking through the city right along the river, it was such a vibrant place to be, right? Great artwork, great food, it felt good. And I remember when I went on that trip, I thought, I would like to go back here with Charles at some point. And you're pretty familiar with that city, right?
Yeah, the industry group that I'm involved with, their annual conference was in Chicago for about 15 years in a row, and so I've been to Chicago many times on business.
And what's your thoughts about the city?
Oh, I love Chicago. It's so walkable. We were just talking about this, about how unlike New York, Chicago, like New York, has all this culture. It has so many great restaurants, so many great things to do, things to see.
Yeah.
But unlike New York, it's walkable. You can walk from Miracle Mile, through the Loop, and out west if you want to, like Chinatown, that kind of stuff. You can walk around there in like a day if you want to. Unlike New York, where it's just like big. So we thought, that would be a really great one-day trip.
And so yes, that trip is coming up in about the next month, and I'm super excited. We're going to take you guys along. But all of that made us thinking how important it is to sometimes step away, right, from your day-to-day. And that may look, different for everyone. Not everyone can go and fly away, to another state. That may mean doing a date night or going somewhere different on the weekend with your partner or by yourself. But I started to realize over the past few weeks, and Charles can speak on it for himself, but I was starting to feel low, right? Not really, I wouldn't call it depressed or anything of that nature, but I felt like I wasn't living, right? I was taking care of my responsibilities. I was working. I was trying to be present for my children. I was trying to be a present wife, but I felt bogged down a little bit by my day-to-day. And don't get me wrong, I am grateful for my husband, my children, my work. There's so many things to be grateful for, but I couldn't shake this feeling of why was I just feeling heavy. And maybe some of it had to do with us, trying to sell this house. And if you guys don't know, that's a whole thing in itself. Trying to sell this house and people telling you how horrible your house looks and it's not worth the money. Like, we leave the house, we think that we're leaving the house spick and span, and we have our house staged, and then people come and walk into your house and tell you, you need to drop the price by, I don't know, a couple of $100,000. It's not worth it. And it kind of sours you a little bit. So all of that, trying to get this load of the house that we're in, trying to get it sold, that load, and with all of our other responsibilities, it's just been feeling heavy. What about for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, my regular day to day with work and helping our au pair with the kids is a little taxing anyway. My problem, unlike Z's, is that I try to get out of the house because normally I work in the house and I take care of kids in the house, and I'm kind of stuck in the house. And so, like, for me to recreate, I'm trying to get out of the house. But over the last couple of weeks, while we've been working on selling the house, we've been doing showings and we've had open houses. We have multiple open houses. And every time that happens, I spend about an hour going through picking up the house. You know, it's usually in the middle of a work day.
Yeah.
I spend about an hour picking up the house. You know, I have pictures of everything like the way it's supposed to be staged, go through and put everything the way it's supposed to be staged, then get out of the house, take my laptop, and, you know, try to find a place to work that I can continue doing my work I'm supposed to be doing somewhere else for 1, 2, 3 hours, however long the realtor needs the house, and then come back. And yeah, it's been extremely disruptive, I think was the word I used earlier. And yeah, you know, when you're it's good to work and, you know, have enough to eat and to do all those things, but if you're not doing things for yourself, then after a while I feel like it makes you resent your situation. You know what I mean?
That's an interesting way to put it. What do you mean you resent your situation?
Well, so I'm almost 45 years old. I'm not getting any younger.
Yeah.
And I know I'm not put on this earth to spend my entire day inside a house, sitting in front of a computer, you know, just trying to crank money in. You know, that doesn't make for a life.
Right. And I agree, right? And I felt like we needed to have a change of environment. And I love our kiddos, but sometimes, you know, if you guys have young kiddos or have been around kiddos, sometimes you're so consumed with them and their needs, you don't have time to breathe or, for lack of a better word, smell the roses, so to speak.
Yeah.
What did you think about when I came? Because I came randomly. This was just my own plan as far as going away. I didn't plan it with Charles. But what did you think when I presented that to you? Do you think I was full of it? Did you were like, okay, I'm really...
No, the first thing I thought is, what's happening in Chicago? Is there like some kind of a home design convention? Like, she's like, I want to go to Chicago on May whatever, and I'm like, the first thought that came to my mind is, what type of a thing is happening in Chicago? But then when I was convinced that you just wanted to go just to have fun, you know, it was reminiscent of like our 2022, was it? I think 2022 was the big year for us. Wasn't that the year that we traveled?
No, 2023. We had our youngest, and it was around the time where I was ending residency. That year we went to Iceland in February. We went to
Toronto.
Jamaica. I was doing it in order. Jamaica, that was Charles' first time to where my family's from. We went to Toronto. We went to North Carolina. It was a lot. And then that was the year that we conceived also my little one. And I got pregnant. And I started my first job outside.
You conceived and you got pregnant?
Well, y'all, you get what I'm trying to say, okay? Yes. And I started my first job. But anyway, that year was that was a crazy year, just thinking back about it. But did you feel alive?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was a really good year.
Right?
That was a really good year. And now, granted, having baby man was amazing. So, you know,
absolutely.
Yeah, it's been a wonderful couple of years having baby man. But it's wonderful in different ways. So, you know, when little ones step in, you get to have all those experiences, but then you also give up. No, absolutely. But then you also give up your other experiences. And so, you know, we haven't been traveling. We haven't been doing all those things that we used to do. Now, you know, we had 2 older kids, but they were older kids. I mean, they were 4, 5, 5, 6, and so they were of an age where they weren't so, you know, where we didn't have to just like be stuck at home all the time.
And I think on top of with trying to sell and build, just all of that together, I think it was starting to bubble over. And that's why I was just like, we got to get out, right? And I feel like going to one of those big cities allows you and I just to get lost in the mix.
We love exploring.
Yeah, and we don't really, I mean, we talked about a few places in Chicago that we want to visit, but really and truly, I don't want any plans. I just want to walk. I want to look at the river. I want to go into random shops. I want to have good food. That's my only requirement. A good hotel and good food. And I just want to, for a couple of hours, because I think we are going to land in Chicago around 9 a.m. or so. From 9 a.m. and on, I just want to have some good coffee, a good brunch, a good dinner, some good snacking, and just walk and explore. And I feel like big cities like Chicago or New York City, there's so much culture, there's so much good food, there's so much activity that you can just walk and get to. It's not spaced apart, that at least for a day we can feel like we're just explorers, right? I don't know, that was my plan. And so I'm so excited for it. We're a little stressed now with everything that's going for that, with everything that is going on, but it's exciting to look forward to it in the next month or so.
And so that's going to be the end of May. So that's about 1 month from now.
Correct.
Hey, so, maybe we'll have the house sold by then.
That would be the icing on the cake.
Yeah.
But we will make sure to bring you guys along. Feel free to comment down below. How do you guys get the spark back in your lives, right? What on a day-to-day, may not be a trip, but are there things that you're doing day-to-day to make sure that you're not feeling bogged down by your responsibilities from a day-to-day basis? And as always, is this little one back here saying hello?
You got to move your big old head to the side. There you go.
You see the disrespect that goes on? Anyway, guys, remember to always like and subscribe down below. We'll talk to you guys next week.